So let's get right to it. We had 30 minutes with Tucker Carlson. Tucker, come on out here. So Tucker, welcome.
Well, it's nice to see you, Charlie.
In the interest of time, let's get to the boring stuff first.
Okay.
Do you have any opinion on the Epstein situation?
You know, I'll be honest, I'm with Ben Shapiro. I think we know enough. We don't need to know anymore. I trust the government. I think Fox News had a piece by Hugh Hewitt today saying only crazy people who have barren personal lives are unhappy enough to concoct these like insane conspiracy theories that maybe Jeffrey Epstein was up to no good. So I'm happy with that. No, I mean, I'm disgusted by the whole thing. The point of electing Trump, and it's a real point, and by the way, I think he can make good on it, but is that the two parties are in alignment in a very sinister way with each other on the big issues. You don't really get a choice. You vote for Lindsey Graham. How is it really different from voting for a Democratic member of the Senate? It isn't, and Trump is the option to the two-party megalith. And this last week, a decision that the Attorney General made, I don't think out of malice, I think out of incompetence, gives the impression that Trump is in on it. And that's a terrible thing. It's very discouraging for his voters, including me, someone who campaigned for him. I don't think Trump is in on it, by the way, just in point of fact. I think this is a decision that Pam Bondi made, but I think they need to fix it right away.
So here in the audience, raise your hand if this matters a lot to you. Raise your hand. So Tucker, for those on podcasting, some people are raising like two hands.
I'm with you, baby.
What? So Tucker, talk to me as if I'm like in fourth grade. Because the Washington Press Corps asked no questions about it this day. They had 10 questions with President Trump, and they didn't ask once about this. So they asked about like Brazilian tariffs, like really random stuff. Explain why the base cares so much about this.
So Jeffrey Epstein was a math teacher at the Dalton School in New York before he got a college degree. He was hired by a guy called Donald Barr, who was the headmaster of Dalton, whose son, amazingly, later became Attorney General of the United States twice, and was the guy who Bill Barr, who first signed off on the ludicrous idea that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself in prison after 36 days, after like telling his lawyer that he was going to get out in a week. And this guy, without a college degree and no kind of work history, wound up making billions of dollars from no obvious source whatsoever, jetting around the world with the most famous people in the world and having this incredibly weird, exotic sex life that over time it became clear was a blackmail scheme designed to entrap the world's most powerful people in compromising positions and use that information against them to get them to do the will of whoever's running this blackmail scheme. So this, I think, became pretty obvious to everybody, except for the National Press Corps, that just did not want to talk about it. Epstein dies. There's no investigation into it. Donald Barr's son, who's then Attorney General, tells us, no, he killed himself, really, but all the cameras were broken. And so this is sort of boiled beneath the surface for anyone who's interested at all in like what was Epstein, digs in a little bit and finds out to this day, so we're now 6 years after his murder, we don't know where the money came from. We still don't know where the money came from.
And can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah.
It wasn't just millions. He was living as if he was worth $10 billion. We're talking about palatial estates,
He had the largest private residence in Manhattan.
So the magnitude of wealth, I hope you understand, this was not like a couple $100 million bucks. He was living like he was he was a co-founder of Meta.
No, but right out in the open. And everybody in famous person world was rolling through the house for dinner. And most of them, I don't think, did anything wrong.
Like George Stephanopoulos.
Exactly. I mean, I know George. I disagree with him and everything. I don't think he's a sex freak. I think he was just invited over for dinner with this guy, and everyone else is, the Prime Minister of Israel is living there, Ehud Barak, and like lots of people are there who aren't bad people. They're just like they know Jeffrey Epstein. But then he winds up indicted again, comes back from France, gets indicted again, and famously dies in federal lockup in Manhattan. And it's very obvious from the beginning that this is not a suicide. And then the medical examiner's like, no, he was strangled to death. So all of this information's on the internet. Everybody who cares to know knows it. They're not conspiracy theorists. They're not mentally ill. And Pam Bondi knows it, and she's talked about it a lot. And she goes on Fox, and she's like, actually, it's all true. And we've got thousands of videos of underage girls being abused. And I have the client list on my desk, and I'm going to release all of this. And then 4 days ago, she comes out with an official statement from the Department of Justice saying, actually, no, he did kill himself. We know that for a fact. And here's an edited video from an irrelevant angle that proves it, even though, of course, it does not at all prove it. And we have no evidence that he hurt anybody, and we're not indicting anyone, and his former girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell's in jail, and that's enough, and he's dead, and it was a natural death, and like, shut up, conspiracy theorists. And people who voted for Trump, not the left, Trump voters rise up on the internet in full revolt. And not just on Twitter, where there are some wackos, to be honest, and me, non-wackos too, but like normal people, 65-year-old Trump voters who were like, I don't, believe that aliens are running the government or anything, but you're lying to me. And not only are you lying to me, you're patronizing me and calling me names when I ask questions. You're acting like the freaking liberals do. When they don't want to answer a question, they just call you a racist and move on. Like, no, I voted for you because I wanted you to respect me as a citizen and pay me the compliment of treating me like an adult, and you're not. So I do think, I know something about it, I do think that most people in the Trump administration, including the president, didn't realize that they were stepping into this. I think a lot of people at DOJ, including Dan Bongino, who I consider a decent man and a man of integrity.
He might resign over this.
He's threatening to right now. I think they kind of got blindsided by this. I think it was, I know it was Pam Bondi who issued this statement, and I don't think Pam Bondi's a bad person. I don't think she's covering up for Jeffrey Epstein. Here's what I know to be true, since you asked. They don't have any information on Jeffrey Epstein's sex crimes, actually. And they never have had any, because in 2007, under the Bush administration, when he was indicted and the search warrant was issued, if you read the search warrant, which I think is online and you can read it, it's written in such a way not to reveal information about Jeffrey Epstein, but to hide it, to protect Jeffrey Epstein. He was being protected then, and so they didn't gather the information. I've never had custody of information showing who was having sex with these underage girls as part of this blackmail deal. I think that's the actual truth. So the real scandal here is who he was working for and where the money came from. That's the actual scandal, and no one will say anything about it because the answer...
Was it American intelligence?
No.
Was it Saudi intelligence? Was it British intelligence?
It was Israeli intelligence. And everyone's embarrassed to say that because you're not allowed to say that or something because you're a hater, but you're not a hater at all. You can think Israel's a great country that deserves our support, as I do.
My best memories are in Israel.
Yeah, it's great. I've taken my family on vacation there. But it's still a foreign country, and it's a fair question to ask, were you running a blackmail scheme in our country? And I think the answer is yes. So they were asked, and they're like, we're not going to tell you. And it's like, well, so why are we sending you all this money every year if you won't answer a simple question? If you're actually running a criminal enterprise in our country, which it seems like they were, then you should answer the question, and no American citizen should be embarrassed to ask that. It doesn't make you a hater or a wacko. If the former Israeli prime minister is living at his house, what was that? And if his girlfriend and co-conspirator is the daughter of a Mossad agent, which she was, why is it crazy to ask that question? It's not crazy. Actually, it's very obvious. And no one should be embarrassed to ask that. No one should be made to feel like a hater for asking that. Asking a question about a foreign country does not make you a bigot at all. And in fact, the effect of not asking that question, the rest of us are all kind of embarrassed and like, oh, can you really say that? What that right there causes hatred and creepiness, and everyone feels like it has to be conducted in secret. When you're not allowed to be straightforward about something, the conversation and the thoughts tend to become diseased. The same is true of sex, by the way.
I've talked about Patriot Mobile's commitment to faith, family, and freedom. Have you made the switch yet? Support your values with your cell phone without sacrificing quality or service. Are you worried about coverage? Don't be. Patriot Mobile uses all 3 major U.S. networks. If you have a cell phone service today, you can get service with Patriot Mobile. Do you think switching is hard? It's not. Their 100% U.S.-based customer service team can activate you in minutes. They even have a contract buyout. So go to patriotmobile.com/Kirk25 or call 972-PATRIOT. Use promo code Kirk25 for a free month of service.
So then is the fact he was an Israeli intelligence asset, is that public knowledge now, or is that
It's
inferred?
obvious to anybody. Well, Israel has not confirmed that and won't, which I think is amazing.
And they've been asked.
They've been asked directly.
And they say what?
We're not answering that question.
Okay, so not no.
So my point would be, look, then you're not getting any funding. You're not getting $1 chance. It's our country, and if you're running a criminal enterprise on our soil, countries do dumb things. We've done a lot of dumb things. But you begin by admitting it and saying, I'm sorry we did that. We won't do it again. That's fine.
And do you think our government was involved at all? Because that's
My
what the question is. Was it an
understanding is-
overlapping? And again, I don't know the answer. Was it
Well, I think I do, but everyone lies about everything, so I could be completely wrong. But here's what I believe to be true. I think there's been enough. I think this is maybe the one crime the CIA is not responsible for, which is kind of amazing. There's such a long list.
I don't know, Tucker. You
I know,
gotta win me over on that one.
But what's kind of crazy is that even to say that, I mean, it's probably public. My dad worked with the CIA. It's like, I'm from the United States. I love this country passionately. I have no problem admitting the truth, which is that the CIA, which has a lot of probably decent people who work there, including, as I already admitted, some I know and love, has done horrible things. That doesn't make me anti-American or a bigot or something. It's okay to criticize government agencies when they do bad things. And if they're foreign government agencies, why in the world would that be not allowed to say there are tons of things Mossad does that I agree with, there are some things I disagree with, including running criminal enterprises in my country? Like, no, you're not allowed to do that. Spying on us, not allowed to do that, period. And I don't know why no one feels free to say it. There's not one American politician who will say that. And the effect of that is to make everybody crazy. And also, by the way, very anti-Israel. Like, if you want to make people hate something, tell them they can't talk about it. Call them names when they ask honest questions about it. That's what's happening right now. And you often hear people say, like, what's all this anti-Israel sentiment going on the internet? And there's a lot of it. In fact, way too much for me. I'll just be honest.
And the Jew hate is out of control. I hate that stuff.
I don't like it. I'm a Christian. I don't think that you should assess people on the basis of the group they belong to.
I agree.
Every person has a soul. Every person's created by God. You should assess each person on the basis of that person.
On their merits.
God knows every hair on your head, we're told. So each person is distinct and unique. You're not a faceless cog. You're not a member of a group, a herd. You're a human being created in the image of the Creator. So I just don't like that whole way of thinking, but it's everywhere all of a sudden, and you have to ask, why is it everywhere? Well, one of the reasons, probably a lot of reasons, but one is because anybody who asks obvious questions like, hey, were you running a sexual blackmail scheme in my country? Shut up, says Ben Shapiro, you're an anti-Semite. Well, no, I'm not. Why is it not a fair question? There's tons of evidence this is happening. Like, are you joking? You're not going to shout me down, by the way, at this point. I spent 4 years being shouted down by the left for asking, I thought, pretty reasonable questions. I have always felt very moderate. I'm not a hater at all, and I'm not going to become one. And I don't think my questions are insane. They may be stupid, but if they're stupid, then just speak slowly so I can understand as you answer them. They're not crazy, and if they are, tell me how. But dismissing me out of hand by attacking my motive is not going to work. And telling me that my question is an insult to the children who died in Texas in a flood is an outrageous response. Anyway, sorry. And I say that with love, but I voted against that kind of crap. It's not just the argument, it's the style of argument. You are not allowed to dismiss my questions as a United States citizen with a wave of the hand and an attack on my character. You get the middle finger in the face from me for doing that until you stop doing it. So I think we have an absolute right to demand sensible answers. And the first question is, who the hell was Jeffrey Epstein working for? Why did Leon Black pay him $100 and something million for tax advice? Don't stop lying to me. It's not tax advice. I have an accountant. It's not that expensive. And like, what was this? And anyway, last thing I'll say, just as you're following along, my understanding as of 6:45 p.m. Friday is that this really isn't about sex as much as it's about the international and financial intel questions. That's what it's about. We know Jeffrey Epstein was a sex freak. We know a lot of women were hurt. But what we don't know is why. And so I think it's fair, or at least I plan to going forward over the next week as we're going to dig into this pretty hard, is to press those questions. Like, big picture, what was this about?
What are the questions you're going to ask?
What was this? How do you go from being a math teacher at Dalton to having your own private island in the largest house in Manhattan?
And so who is Les Wexner? He's alive, I guess, right?
Les Wexner is the former CEO of a company called The Limited, which was a massive clothing
Victoria's
retailer.
Secret or something, right?
Correct, Abercrombie & Fitch, I think, and a bunch of different
And he lives in Ohio
clothing
or something,
companies.
Right?
The richest person in Ohio, super impressive guy in a lot of ways, very rich guy. and he wound up financing a lot of Epstein's life. And he's never been interviewed by the feds, ever. And so that's like right there, who made the decision not to interview the guy who's bankrolling the whole thing? You arrest Jeffrey Epstein, but it's like, well, where did Jeffrey Epstein get the plane? I'm 56, I've worked 6 days a week my whole life. I fly in Southwest, like, how do you get a plane?
He had multiple.
What are you even talking about? Like, where did that come from?
He had multiple Gulfstreams, multiple.
Right, okay.
Which each one is 30, 40, 50 million.
I'm not saying he didn't deserve the plane. I'm just saying, what did he do to get the plane?
And can I go a step further? There are no trades to Jeffrey Epstein's name at any of the trading desks.
Right.
So this guy allegedly was a wealth manager. Someone who he's Brett Weinstein's brother, Eric Weinstein. He's right on some stuff, disagree on other, but he had a really good point. He said he sat down with Epstein once. He said within 5 minutes, he said this guy was a total fraud. This guy just he was like weird and crass and talked about weird sex stuff, but he wasn't deep, like at all.
Right.
And because Weinstein, you can't call him dumb, he would ask questions about financial instrumentation and derivatives, and Epstein knew nothing about it. So here's a guy that we have no trades to his name. Anyone who met him never was like, this is like a brilliant guy. And yet he ends up with a lifestyle, you would think that he's worth $50 billion.
Well, you knew he wasn't brilliant because he kept sending money to Harvard to put his name on things. So what you have there is a very recognizable kind of social insecurity, status anxiety that comes from inadequate people who want to convince you that they're like really impressive and earned what they have. And it's a very common tick in our ruling class now, most of whom are deeply mediocre, a lot of whom have gotten rich in businesses that are basically dishonorable, lending money at exorbitant rates. And they are trying to like let you know that they're legit. And so that's just a tell for me as a person that Epstein was a guy who didn't make his money the old-fashioned way by doing something innovative and clever and working hard. He did it by means and in the service of something that he didn't want to admit publicly. So anyway, those are the questions that I would ask. And my strong sense is that it is dawning on the administration, thank heaven, that this is a huge problem. I think there were people, there are always going to be people like Ben Shapiro or Hugh Hewitt at Fox News who were like, oh, it's just who cares about this guy? He's already, like when Ben Shapiro was telling us, who cares who killed Kennedy? That was a long time ago. Okay. He was the elected president of the United States, fair to ask. But there are some people, I think, administration who are like, yeah, really, Jeffrey Epstein, like, is that the biggest thing going on in the world right now? And I think they sort of missed, not all, but some, that it's a metaphor for everything. It's like, how do all these people get so rich in the first place? Not just Jeffrey Epstein, but like, how did Bill Ackman get so rich? Is he really like a market genius? Is he? Is he like $9 billion smart? I know I'm not. Like, what is that? And why can't my kids buy a house anymore? Like, what's going on in this country? Why are a small number of pretty sleazy people collecting all the money and everyone else is like going backward, which is happening? And why are they, no, I'm serious. And those people, no matter what they do, are never punished for anything. Like, no matter what they do, they're never punished for anything. Bill Ackman goes on TV and is like, Herbalife is terrible. Driving down, this is very common, using CNBC to drive down stock prices and then betting against them in the market. It's called shorting. How in the world does that benefit the American economy? How is that capitalism as we were taught as kids? How is charging 30% on a credit card legal? When the mafia tried that, they went to jail under RICO. But that's suddenly allowed? A buddy of mine's daughter just got in trouble with a car loan. She refinanced her car at 40% interest. I said, let's get guns and go get the money back. And by the way, the last thing I'll say is, the one topic that nobody ever talks, everyone's like all about race hatred and you should hate this group for that reason and it's the fault of this group, white people, black people, Jewish people.